Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mystery Told. I'm Legendary, and I'm still your host. Today's story is Jack the Giant Killer. Now, Jack was born to peasant farmers in Cornwall, somewhere in that nebulous time period where magic and monsters were just a thing in England that everybody had to deal with. He was actually kind of the best. He was a clever optimist who always had a plan or a joke. Nothing ever got his optimistic spirit down. Everyone loved him. However, the fact that everyone loved him was mitigated by the fact that everyone was miserable all the time because they were being harassed by a giant by the name of Cormoran, who was this massive 18 feet tall man monster with more teeth than a shark convention. This dude would just show up to the village one day, steal a half a dozen cows, a dozen sheep, and if you were like, hey, you can't take those, he'd take you too. And then just eat all of them for lunch and be like, I'll be back in 6 hours. So the village is starving to death at this point, and they're like, there's nothing we can do. Someone needs to kill him, but how can we kill him? He's 18 feet tall. He carries half a dozen cows. You ever carry half a dozen cows? That's like 4 tons of meat. Jack's like, guys, you don't need to be strong if you're smart. I'll kill him. The only thing I want in return is to keep whatever treasure I find in his house. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, sure, Jack. Do whatever you gotta do. So Jack buys a pickaxe, a shovel, and a horn, and he marches up to where the cave the giant lives in, and digs a hole 22 feet deep and almost as wide. He works all night, then covers it up with straw, sticks, leaves, and dirt. Then he sits on the opposite end of the pit and blows on the horn to wake Cormoran up. And Cormoran comes out of his cave and goes, Who the hell woke me up? Are you really so tired of life that you'd awaken me? And Jack is like, hey, I'm tired of this, and flips him off. And Cormoran is like, well, I'm gonna have to eat you now. So he rushes at Jack, falls into the pit, and once he falls into the pit, Jack strolls up to him, looks down at him, sees that the giant's head is just peeking over the pit, and goes, "Ooh, second thought, maybe you need some brain food," and starts stabbing him in the head with the freaking pickaxe. Now, this pretty effectively kills the giant. So Jack takes whatever treasure he gets, and the nobility hears about him, and they knight him on the spot and give him a sword, a belt that reads his new title, Jack the Giant Killer. So Jack decides, I should probably tell the king about this. So he travels from Cornwall to Wales. But on the way there, he gets into another fight with another giant named Blunderbore. Blunderbore sees Jack on the road, grabs him, drags him off to an enchanted castle, because of course Blunderbore has an enchanted castle. Why wouldn't he? And then Blunderbore shows Jack all the people he's eaten and goes, hey, Jackie, rest up, you're next. So he locks Jack in a room and then leaves his brother, another giant, to guard Jack. Jack looks around, notices some strong cords in the room, and goes, ooh, these'll work. So while the two giants are walking around guarding the place, they pass under the windows of the room Jack was in. Jack ties the cords in nooses, drops them down, and strangles both giants to death. He strangles one to death, and he strangles Blunderbore half to death, and then drops down and stabs Blunderbore in the face repeatedly until Blunderbore finally dies. Then he steals the key from the castle and unlocks the rooms to find 3 beautiful women tied by their hair. Jack, much like me, doesn't want to know what the giants are planning to do with 3 beautiful women. Goes, look, I'm not going to ask what's going on. They're dead. Y'all free. Here, let me get your hair undone. We should go. So Jack finally gets to Wales, and this other giant, who doesn't have a name, but he's this two-headed giant. He's this literally 2-headed giant. So he's a two-faced lying schemer, literally and metaphorically. So he meets Jack, and he sees Jack is still wearing a belt that literally says Jack the Giant Killer on it. He goes, oh, I got something for you if you want to kill giants. He goes, man, Jack, you must be tired. Here, take a nap. So he leads Jack to his house. But Jack's smart. Jack's like, I don't trust none of these giants. So he looks around, He hides a hunk of wood in the bed and falls asleep in a hidden corner of the room. At midnight, the giant sneaks into the room and beats the hunk of wood with a massive club and sneaks back out. Jack sees, goes, "Yeah, that was smart of me not to sleep in that bed." Walks back out the next morning and goes, "Hey, man, do we have food?" And the giant's like, "Why aren't you dead? I mean, how did you sleep?" Jack goes, "Ah, dude, I slept fine. Weird thing, though. I think a rat hit me in the middle of the night with its tail. But that was weird. That was weird. Anyway, food. So the giant makes him some porridge, but he poisons his food. But Jack is too smart to just eat food from a guy who literally just tried to kill him. So instead, he takes a bag, ties it under his coat, and slips the food into the bag. And then he puts the food plate down. Goes, that was good. Spicy though. Hey, you want to see a magic spell I learned? So he takes a knife, mutters some vaguely magical gibberish, stabs himself in the stomach, actually stabbing himself in the bag, and the breakfast oatmeal spills out. Then he stitches himself up with a needle. Then he stitches up the bag with a needle and thread. So the giant goes, "Let me try that. I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be immortal." So he takes the same knife, stabs himself, looks at Jack, and goes, "This was a." He mutters, looks at Jack and goes, "This was a bad plan," and drops dead. Jack finally gets to Wales, presents himself to the king, and tells him about his exploits. And the king goes, "Oh wow, that's incredible. Well, you can't just be a regular knight anymore. I gotta upgrade you to a proper royal knight." So after this, Jack lives happily ever after. He eventually marries a duchess and becomes a nobleman. He has a pretty decent life. It's a pretty happy ending. Alright, so that's the story of Jack the Giant Killer. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.